So you spent the last, I don't know how many months, probably studying for your real estate exam, going through all the courses, and now you've passed your test and you're licensed. Now what? This is often the scary part about getting started in the real estate businesses, right? How are you gonna get clients? And unless you're lucky to have a circle of influence where like everybody you know is making money and they can afford to buy houses, is in that age group where they're buying houses, and you just have really good connections, it can be sometimes very overwhelming or even scary of like, how am I gonna get going in this business? I don't have that much money. For a lot of people, right? They could say, I don't have that much money. It's like, how am I gonna advertise? It's like, I can barely like order some business cards and like get my MLS fees paid up and everything like that. So there's a lot of things that you may be using money for, and you're like, I don't have that much of a marketing budget. So what do I do? How do I get jump started in this career? And I'm gonna tell you, it's actually quite simple, and a lot of real estate agents don't do it. And because of it, they end up quitting the business, okay? They end up quitting the business and never even sell a house. That's not gonna happen to you guys. I'm gonna tell you step by step how you're gonna get started in this business, how you're gonna get clients, how you're gonna build a pipeline for yourself. This little online real estate school is going to teach you everything that you need to know to get started in this business and really be successful at it. So that being said, here's your first lesson. You need to start to learn how to talk to people. And the only way you're gonna learn how to talk to people is by getting in front of them. How do you get in front of them? Easiest thing, open houses. A lot of people are like, well, how do I get an open house? I'm gonna make another video that teaches you step by step how to get an open house, because a lot of people think, oh, well, I don't have a listing. How can I do an open house if I don't have a listing? You don't need to have a listing. There's another video I'm gonna post that's gonna teach you exactly how to do that. Okay, so let's assume that you already have your open house. You've made sure that people online are aware of it. You have your open house signs positioned in the right place. You've actually picked out the correct open house to do it. And by the way, guys, you might think to yourself like, how am I really gonna get open houses? Or why should I really do them? Number one, open houses take no money. It doesn't cost any money. It just takes time and energy, but it doesn't cost money. What are the numbers about that, right? Well, your average open house, let's pretend it's not even that good. You're probably gonna meet 5 people, let's say, at a minimum, over the course of like a Saturday. Let's say you do an open house from 11 to 4 or something like that, right? And then you do it again on a Sunday. Basically, over the course of a weekend of doing an open house, you're probably gonna meet about 10 people that walked in who are face-to-face with you, who are actually interested or curious about potentially buying a house, and you're gonna have the opportunity to build a relationship with them. And what I always coach is get them to like you, trust, and believe in you, right? The opportunity to talk to them so that you have the opportunity to get them to like, trust, and believe in you. That's just 1 week, guys, 10 people. These are the kind of people you want to be talking to consistently. And of course, the more and more you do it, the better you're going to be at talking to people. And if we did this consistently every single weekend, over the course of a year, let's pretend, there's 52 weeks in a year. 10 people a week that are interested, curious about buying a house. That's 520 people, clients, families that you're gonna meet over the course of a year. To be a rock star in this business and make a 6-figure income, guys, you just need to sell like 12 homes. That's like 1 a month. And if you say that the average commission, let's just say, is 10 grand, which I think is actually higher, but it's an easy number to work with right now. 10,000 times 12 homes sold is $120,000. That's a 6-figure income. Do you know that most real estate agents never get there? They've been doing this for years, and a lot of them never make a 6-figure income. They barely get by selling, 1 house every other month, 6 houses a year, making $60,000, $70,000, and that's their career. They're like 5, 6, 7 years into the business, and they're still just barely getting by. And something as simple as just doing open houses to get clients. I mean, they'll do everything else. I mean, they'll try to advertise on Zillow, with the little money that they have. Zillow charges you like an arm and a leg for leads. And keep in mind, these leads are on the phone, and if you don't answer or you don't get back to them, they'll just go on to the very next agent that's on Zillow and just wasted your money. This is the easiest way to get clients. Oh, by the way, there's also people out there doing TikTok videos and dancing around on the internet and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's gonna get you some exposure, but I'm talking about putting clients in front of you face to face. I can't think of an easier way, guys, than to get started when you got nothing else going on than just doing open houses. That's just to give you the importance of it, of why you should do it. Now, in the beginning, it's gonna be just like going to the gym, right? You go to the gym for like the first week, you work out hard, and at the end of the week, you look in the mirror and you'd be like, I'm still fat, I'm not in shape still. And you might do it again for another week and you look in the mirror and like, well, I don't see much of a difference. And you might do this for a month and still not much of a difference. But if you consistently do this, guys, 3 months later, you're gonna be like, hey, look at this pipeline. I'm just trying to pick up a little momentum. 6 months from now, you probably would have sold some houses, a bigger pipeline. It's amazing what will happen if you do this consistently after a 12-month period. Can you imagine how good you would be too at talking to people at the end of a year that you've had experience talking to people, 500 clients in a year on average? How much experience and knowledge you'll get? This is the learning part of the business. But I'm still fairly positive that you're gonna sell in your first year anywhere between 6 to 12 homes. There's no possible way that you can't if you really go out there and do this. But the knowledge and experience you'll pick up from just talking to people consistently and getting out there and the exposure, and think about how many phone numbers you'll have. It's amazing what happens. The problem is that most people that try to do this will simply quit and say open houses don't work. After 2 or 3 weeks of this, they'll be like, this shit don't work. And that'll be it. And they'll try to do something else. Maybe they'll knock on doors, they'll pass out flyers, they'll try to put their business card on freaking cars. Everything else. If you think that putting your business card on cars works versus actually meeting people face to face at an open house, you're kidding yourself. This is a relationship business. You need to learn how to meet with people, learn how to talk to them, learn how to get them to like you, trust you, and believe in you so that they'll want to work with you. By the way, this is not a salesy job. They already want to buy the house. You don't have to convince them to buy the house. They already want to buy a house. That's the reason they walked in the door. But are they going to buy it from you? That's the question. Are they going to buy a house from you? And the only way that's going to happen is if they like you, is if they trust you, and if they believe in you, if they believe that you're capable of making this happen for them. And for that, you don't need to be the super most experienced real estate agent. It's okay if you're brand new. As long as your client believes in your capabilities, that you're capable of getting the answer, that you're working with a team that's gonna help you out, they're gonna wanna work with you, especially if they really like you and they really trust you, because those things are extremely important. Like and trust are extremely important. That's more than half the battle. That's 66% of the game right there, is like and trust. The customer just needs to believe in your capabilities. And it's okay if you're brand new. The more experience you get, believe me, you're gonna know all the answers, especially if you keep watching these training videos. We're gonna ramp up your knowledge base really quickly. Let's get into the open house part. When somebody walks in the door, what is the goal? What is the goal? What are you really selling? Well, number one, guys, I wanna remind you, you are not selling the house. You are building a relationship here. But what do most agents do as soon as they walk in the door? As soon as the client walks in the door, they start puking on them with stuff like, come on in. This house is, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2,000 square feet. It's listed at 500,000. We got so many offers. Come on in, you better try to get it before it's gone. You sound like a used car salesman. Have you ever met a salesperson like that? Have you ever walked into anywhere, a store, and somebody comes at you like that? What, do you like them, first of all? No, you don't like that. You definitely don't trust somebody like that. And what does it say about your capabilities? You sound desperate. You gotta slow it down, guys. Nobody wants to buy anything from you unless there's any kind of relationship there first. So what are the kind of questions that you wanna ask to start opening them up? Well, for starters, you don't wanna talk about buying a house. You don't wanna mention the word buy when you're first starting to talk to them. Because as soon as you mention anything about buy, or they get the feeling that you're trying to sell them a house, they're gonna put their wall up if they don't know you yet. If they don't like and trust you and believe in you yet, if you haven't established that yet, the second you mention anything about buy, or they get the little inkling or the little hairs in the back of their neck start standing up because they feel like you're trying to sell them something, block wall is gonna go right up. And it's way harder to take that down. So the kind of questions you wanna ask are like, well, what brings you into this particular neighborhood? Once again, it has nothing to do with buying a house. It's like you're just asking them in general, what do they like about this neighborhood? Very open-ended question. As the conversation goes, you'll slowly get into what it is that they're looking for, right? People like us when we feel that we're interested about them, and what their goals are and what their dreams are. Okay, so we're gonna get into that and what they're looking for. But you start off the conversation with things like that. What is it about this neighborhood that you like? What brings you in today? And as they're looking around, you might ask them something like, so is something like this, would it be just for you? Is there anybody else involved? Seeing what their motivations are, you want to get into that. And this entire time, you want to talk calmly. You want to talk a little slower than what you normally do when you're talking to people, because you want to be like really low key, real low pressure. That's usually how I am. Because the second that I'm like, so what brings you in today? What do you like about this neighborhood? Is this really just for you? Is there anybody else? I'm like, be chill. So is something like this just for you, or is there anybody else involved? And they might tell you. Have that conversation. Other little things too, like, you know, if you happen to have like some water or anything with you, I would hand them the water. Don't ask them either, would you like some water? Because they're gonna say no. If you ask somebody normally that doesn't know you and they think that you're a salesperson, you offer them something like, hey, would you like some water? They're probably gonna say no because they don't wanna feel like they owe you anything. So what you wanna do is just say, here's some water. Just hand it to them. They'll probably take it. That's just like a little detail right there. What else can we do? Let them walk through the house, give them the opportunity to walk through it. So as they're walking through the house, another question you might ask, just to kind of open them up a little bit, and also really low key, is, so how long have you been thinking about something like this? Once again, notice how I don't really mention the house, okay? It's like, because I don't want them to think that I'm trying to sell them this house. How long have you been thinking about owning real estate? You want to be low key. See where that part of the conversation goes. Listen, okay? Listen to them talk. Don't wait for your turn to say something. Be patient, listen to them talk. A lot of people who get into sales, they think that sales is all about talking. It's more about listening. It's more about asking the right questions and listening to your client. Learn to listen. Ask the right questions, learn to listen. How long have you been thinking about owning a home? What would be your ideal time frame? Would be a good question, right? Is it something that you want to do in the next few weeks? Is it something that you might want to do in the next few months, later this year? Once again, no rush, right? Like, you want to have this feeling, give them this feeling that you're not in a rush to sell them anything. You're just trying to see what their idea is, right? What is it that they're trying to do? And just learn from them. And then you can start asking as you move along, you know, other questions. Especially if they ask, it's like, no, this is something that I really want to do in the next couple of months. I'm like, okay, great. So because they said that to you, the next question might be, well, have you talked to a lender yet? Have you kind of figured out, you know, more or less where your payments might be, or how much money down you might need, or anything like that? And see how they answer. So no, not yet, or yes, I have, a great. If they say yes, I have, great. They give you a pre-approval letter already. And so as this moves along, your next questions could be like, well, that's awesome. I would love the opportunity to help you out with this. Some of the things that I can help do would be to send you some properties online and give you the opportunity to take a look at everything that's available. It'll let me understand what it is that you're looking for. How does that sound? I never try to say things like, here, let me send you some homes. I give them an option and I say, how does that sound? Because then if they say, well, that sounds great, I would like that. The next thing is like, okay, that would be awesome. Here's my, and I would give them like my phone or something to write with, right? Either I give them my phone or I give them a piece of paper and a pen, and I allow them to write their name and email on there. And the next thing would be, it's like, I'm gonna send these for you. When would be a good time for me to call you back so we can review and see what they tell you? Once again, you want to open the door and give them the option to tell you when is a good time for you to call them back. And once they do that, it's like, that's awesome. And then you give them the pen again, or if they didn't already do it, so they themselves can write their phone number down. Or you simply hand them your cell phone and have them type it in. And psychologically, it makes a difference, right? Because if you're like, oh, can I get your number? And then it just looks like you're trying to get something from them instead of them giving you something. You're allowing them the power, you're allowing them to give it to you, as opposed to you like, I'm ready for it. What's your information? What's your email? What's your name? That's also one of the reasons why I'm opposed to sign-in sheets, guys. When somebody walks in the door, they don't know you. There's a lot of real estate agents out there that, so as soon as somebody walks in the door, they're like, please sign my sign-in sheet. They don't know you. They don't want to give you their information. They don't want to give you their phone number. I mean, you're basically setting that up so that they might give you some fake information. You want somebody, when they give you their number, that it's because they wanted to give it to you, not because they were forced to, right? And some of you guys out there, like, if you guys are single and you've been to bars, I mean, it's pretty much the equivalent of just walking up to a girl you like and be like, hey, can I have your number? What do you think's gonna happen? Do you think she really wants to give it to you just like that? She doesn't know anything about you. She's not comfortable. And if she does, it's just to get rid of you. She's like, yeah, here it is. And then you call her back like a day later and you're like, she answers the phone and she's like, yeah, bye. Or doesn't even answer or gives you some BS number, right? It's pretty much the equivalent of that. Don't do sign-in sheets. If you do it right, people will want to give you their information and you have to allow it so that they can. As you're doing this, right, let's say you set them up online so that you're sending them some properties on the MLS. You've set a time when it's okay for you to call them back. Very important that you call them back at that time. This is how you build trust, right? Trust is built on predictability by doing what you say you're going to do. So if you say, I'm gonna set you up with some homes, then do it. And then you ask for permission. When's a good time for me to call you back so we can review some of them? That gives you the opportunity to call them back. And it's not a cold call anymore because they're expecting you to call them back. They've given you permission for that. Or they might say, it's like, you know what, give me a week, I need to review these. I'm like, okay, cool. Call them in a week. What's the next step after that? You call them back, they've looked at some homes, and then you ask, well, when would be a good time to take a look at a couple of these that you like? That's the next step. So you would set that up. And you would only do this, really, honestly, if you're doing it right, is if they already have their pre-approval. So when would be a good time to take a look at some of these houses? And if they tell you the time and everything, you're gonna be like, great. But you also need a little piece of commitment from them as well. You need a little piece from them. You're inching them along the process. You're baby stepping them each way towards working with you. So then at this point, so once you set the appointment, you're like, okay, great, I'm looking forward to meeting with you. One of the things that I'm going to need is that pre-approval letter from your loan officer. It's a little ask, it's a little commitment, and it's also nothing personal. Notice how I didn't say, oh, I need your pre-approval letter along with your bank statements and FICO scores and all that stuff. Because yes, that is something that I'm going to need. But I'm baby stepping them along the way. I am just asking for that little piece of information. Very non-committal. I just need that so that when I'm setting up my appointments, I can show the listing agent that you're already pre-approved. It makes it a lot easier for me to get into the houses that we want to see, because the listing agents and the sellers, especially if they're still living in there, they typically want to show the house only to people that they know are already qualified. So that's your reasoning behind it. At this point, you can be like, well, if you like this one, the next step is we need to get your proof of funds, your FICO scores. So you inch them along the whole way without right up front just saying, hey, send me your pre-approval letter, bank statements, and FICO scores. You want to do that after you've already met with them because that's going to give you more opportunity to build rapport. Once you've gotten them to write one offer, guys, at least one offer, from that point on it's so much easier, because at that point, the idea of them writing one offer, that's commitment. They've committed to working with you at that point. They've written an offer. Psychologically, they've decided that you are their agent once you got them to write that one offer. And that is pretty much the process from start to finish in terms of, how do you get a client? Once that person writes an offer for you, they're a client. They've committed, they've decided to work with you. And all you gotta really focus on is building that relationship and baby stepping them along the way. At each point, you're asking for a little bit of commitment. It could be something as, I'm gonna send you these homes and you can see when they reviewed it or not. Because you'll call them and you'll ask them, hey, have you gotten a chance to review the homes that I've sent you? The fact that they did review the homes that you sent them is that little piece of commitment. That's a good sign. So that allows you to move on to the next step. If they haven't looked at the homes, then you need to work on that rapport a little bit more and at least get them to look at homes before you try to go to the next step, which is, let me go show you some. Why should I commit myself more to you if you haven't even done that one little thing, which is just look at the homes I sent you? You can't move on to the next step, which is showing homes and basically committing myself more to somebody until they've at least done their part. If I've sent you homes, then the commitment that I'm expecting in return before we move on to the next level is, have you looked at the ones I sent you? If you have, great. the next step of commitment would be pick out the ones you want to see so that we can go look at some. You don't pick out the houses for them. You want them to do that little bit of homework that's showing you commitment towards working with you. You're baby stepping them towards working with you. So they do their part, then you do your part. And then of course, before you show them the homes, you just ask for that another little piece of homework for them to do, which is, can you send me your pre-approval letter? So very important that we don't show homes to people that haven't shown us that level of commitment. You guys don't get paid for driving people around in your car. That's what Uber drivers do. You don't get paid for driving people around. You shouldn't just be excited because someone decided that they want to go look at a house. Has that person shown you commitment along the way? Do you have somebody that is capable of buying a house? That's why you have that pre-approval letter that you need from them. You committing your time to a Saturday or a Sunday, that's a huge commitment, guys, because that's taking away the opportunity for you to meet, 5 or 10 other people who are also interested. So the only way that we're burning a Saturday and not doing an open house is if we got a solid person that has shown us that they're just as interested in working with us as we're interested in working with them. They've shown you that part. They answer the phone, they text you back. They're not just blowing you off and stuff like that. Keep in mind, take your time to build that level of rapport and be certain like, hey, this is somebody that I want to spend my Saturday with. This potentially could go somewhere. It's just like dating, right? You're gonna go on a date on a Friday night, it's like, this is somebody that I would like to spend my time with. It could potentially go somewhere. It's the same idea, okay? I hope this first video here has given you an idea of how you can really get started in this business, guys. And there's a lot of other ways to make money in real estate too. I mean, you can be a listing agent, you could build teams, there's all these other ways that we're gonna learn too. But if we're just talking about what is the fastest way to jumpstart your career, it's gonna be doing these open houses, guys. Later on, you're gonna be able to do like advertising and this and that. There's other things that we could be doing. But I could say there's one thing that you should be doing as a brand new agent to jumpstart your career. And really, if all you did was just this, just do open houses, you could potentially have a 6-figure income just from doing this one little thing, just this one piece, consistently. Just this one thing consistently can turn you into a top producer at most companies, because most people never even make $100,000 or more. And all you had to do was do open houses consistently. I look forward to working with you guys. This is just one of the first videos that we're doing here. I'm gonna be adding more. It's gonna teach you some other aspects of the real estate business. And I look forward to working with you as you develop in your career. Take care, bye-bye.